Welcome to the service bay. Grab your safety glasses because today I'm taking you under my wing for an explainer that's going to completely change how you look at vehicle electrical systems. We're going to break down the actual physics of AC generation and show you how to properly diagnose alternator health under load. Think of this as your absolute masterclass in charging dynamics, straight from the shop floor. So listen up, kid, because this right here, this is the absolute most common misconception that walks into our shop. You've probably heard it, right? Maybe you've even believed it. The idea that leaving a car idling in the driveway is somehow the fastest way to juice up a dead battery. Well, we're going to dismantle that myth right now, because frankly, it leads to completely misdiagnosed electrical faults and worse, stranded drivers. No way we're letting that happen on our watch. All right, here's our training syllabus for the day. We're hitting the idle myth, RPM versus output physics, smart systems and illusions, mechanical and thermal traps, the master diagnostic procedure, and finally, the golden diagnostic rule. Let's get to it. Section 1. The idle myth, separating the volts from the amps. Okay, the core confusion really comes down to this difference. When you slap a voltmeter across a battery at idle, you might see, say, 14.2 volts and think, awesome, it's charging. But here's the reality check. Voltage is strictly regulated to stay between 13.8 and 14.8 volts, basically regardless of how fast the engine is spinning. It's just pressure. Amperage, or current, that's the actual force doing the heavy lifting to fill that battery up. And unlike voltage, amperage scales dramatically up and down with engine RPM. High voltage at idle absolutely does not mean your battery is actually filling up with amps. Section 2. RPM versus output physics, generating current through rotation. Let's talk numbers. Take a typical output curve for a 100 amp alternator. At 1000 alternator RPM, which, by the way, is roughly where you sit at engine idle thanks to the pulley ratio, you're only getting about 40 amps of output. That's literally just the bare minimum to run the vehicle's baseline loads. But notice what happens when you rev it to just 2000 RPM. The output doubles to 80 amps. It's like turning on a fire hose. This proves that idle is actually the least efficient operating point. An alternator is an engine-driven AC generator. You fundamentally need rotation, speed, and magnetic flux to generate those high charging currents. But hey, we also have to factor in the battery itself, right? The battery has what we call an acceptance rate. This is a strict chemical limitation dictating exactly how fast it can absorb current. Think of it like a sponge. A deeply discharged battery will greedily soak up high amps, which is exactly why highway driving recharges up faster than sitting at a stoplight. But as it gets full, that acceptance rate drops down to a mere trickle. And remember, even if your alternator is dumping out 80 amps at cruising speeds, that raw output means absolutely nothing if the battery chemistry simply won't accept it. Section 3. Smart systems and modern illusions, when the ECU tricks your multimeter. Now, on older cars, the alternator just ran dumb and steady. But today, the engine control unit, the ECU, manages everything. To stabilize heavy accessory loads like your AC and power steering when you're just sitting at low RPM, the ECU will intentionally command a higher voltage at idle. Conversely, to save fuel, it might actually reduce charging output while you're cruising on the highway. Crazy, right? Throw in a weak battery with high internal resistance, where the voltage spikes rapidly but no actual current is being stored, and man, you have a perfect recipe for misdiagnosis. If you see an ECU commanding higher voltage at a stoplight, you gotta realize that's just a magic trick. It's normal system compensation, not actual proof of faster charging. Section 4. Mechanical and thermal traps, hardware faults masquerading as normal. So if a car actually seems to charge better at idle, you might just be looking at a mechanical failure in a really good disguise. For instance, worn-out brushes. They vibrate a ton at high speeds, breaking contact. But at idle, they vibrate a lot less, making the output look deceptively smooth. Or consider the overrunning alternator decoupler, the OAD pulley. A failing one will slip at high speeds but catch at low speeds, sending you on a total wild goose chase of erratic charging. We also see internal thermal throttling, where the regulator protects itself from internal heat soak by backing off the charge at high RPMs. And hey, let's not forget the absolute basics. A loose or slip serpentine belt might lose its grip when the engine is revving hard, but miraculously manage to catch enough torque at idle to spin the alternator. Because these symptoms can overlap so heavily, keep these quick reference points in your head to differentiate between a dying battery and a decaying alternator. If the voltage spikes super fast but dies under load, and you've already ruled out a parasitic draw draining it overnight, you're looking at a battery with high internal resistance. If the headlights dim at idle but brighten up when you rev the engine, you're seeing direct visual confirmation of marginal low RPM alternator output. And if you throw a scope on there and see unstable ripple voltage, boom, you found failing rectifier diodes inside the alternator. Section 5. The Master Diagnostic Procedure. Evaluating health under load. All right, apprentice, memorize these performance benchmarks. When you're testing, you can't just check one single condition. At a warm idle with zero electrical load, you want to see between 13.8 and 14.8 volts. But the real test, that's under maximum electrical load at idle. Here, a healthy system has to maintain at least 13.2 volts. Finally, when you bring that engine up to a cruising speed of 2,000 RPM, it should fully recover right back to that 14.0 to 14.8 volt range. Notice how we test performance across both idle and 2,000 RPM. That's the secret sauce right there. Okay, here is the exact step-by-step procedure I want you to execute every single time a car rolls into your bay. Step 1, connect your reliable voltmeter directly across the battery terminals. Step 2, start the engine, let the idle stabilize, and verify you have clean grounding paths and proper belt tension. Do not skip that. Step 3, this is the stress test. Turn literally everything on. High beams, rear defroster, blower on max, AC compressor. Make that system sweat and watch your voltage. Finally, step 4, rev the engine to 2,000 RPM and measure the voltage recovery. Follow this quick load test process every time. If voltage drops below 13.0 volts at idle under that load, but recovers beautifully at 2,000 RPM, you've just found an alternator that's failing under load at its absolute weakest point. Section 6. The Golden Diagnostic Rule. Shop wisdom for the apprentice. To wrap this all up, here is the ultimate takeaway, the golden rule of automotive electrical work. If your alternator seems to charge better at idle, the system is compensating for something that is not working correctly. Read that again. Whether it's a smart ECU trying desperately to keep the car alive, a slipping belt, or worn-out brushes, an alternator fundamentally produces its genuine, raw charging performance built on high RPMs, not sitting in a drive-thru. So next time you're under the hood diagnosing a power drain or a dead battery, I want you to ask yourself, are you looking at the full picture by testing across different RPM ranges and loads, or are you just falling for the illusion of a smart system? Don't let the idle myth waste your time in the shop. Test the load, verify the RPM, check those belts and grounds, and you will find the real fault every single time. Keep learning, keep testing, and I'll see you in the next explainer.